Good morning, everyone. It's Vern Friedlander. I'm the Vice President of Production at Barco X20, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Capitalizing on the Digital Workplace, Visual Communication Solutions that Drive Business. We'll tell you a little bit about X20 and about Barco, and about the work we do in the world of visual communications, and we'll also try to pinpoint specific opportunities that are in line with what you folks do as consultants, and hopefully there'll be opportunities to work together and collaborate on projects. Just a little bit of housekeeping first. I'd like to invite you to IABC, the International Association of Business Communicators, where we'll be exhibiting between June 5th and June 8th. We'll be in booth 105, so if you're in New Orleans, please come by and visit us. And also, of course, we'll be at Infocom between June 4th and June 10th in booth C8720. It's the Barco booth, and by all means, please drop by. It'll give you a great opportunity to meet people from X20 and get a demo of our platform and learn more about its capabilities. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me at vernon.friedlander@barco.com, or you can reach out to Charles Duncan, who I think many of you are familiar with, at techsales.consultants@barco.com. And Charles, if you're available, perhaps you have a few words of introduction. Okay, not sure if you can hear Charles or not. We seem to be having some audio problems, but I'm pretty confident you can hear me. So why don't we continue with the webinar. What I'd like to do, first of all, is let you know that there's a lot of material to cover in only half an hour. So if there are any questions, please use the chat function on the GoToWebinar UI, and then you'll be able to pose any questions, and we'll try to get to them at the end of the session. So let's talk about what we'll do today. We'll tell you a little bit about Barco X20 and who we are and where we come from, some important market trends, challenges, and opportunities that exist in the marketplace, especially for consultants. We'll tell you a little bit about the X20 solution and what our capabilities are, and how we address those trends, challenges, and opportunities. And we'll also show you some examples of what we do at X20 as well. So let's talk a little bit about Barco X20. We have a very interesting background. We worked in the broadcast industry for many years, and we were very instrumental in real-time graphics. And just to clarify what exactly that is taking an incoming data stream and then making the on-air graphics do things in a very dramatic, dynamic way based on that real-time data that's coming in from the data stream. And Vertigo X Media, which was the company's name in those days, did a lot of this work for clients like ABC Monday Night Football, the Fox Super Bowl, and a lot of elections, both in Canada, the US, and internationally. So if you're watching an election broadcast, trying to illustrate the point, if you saw a map of the United States, and some states were Republican, some states were Democrat, and live data came in that kind of changed the editorial side of that story, and you saw that beautiful 3D map of the United States change colors in certain states based on that live incoming data. So that's what Vertigo X Media did, the company that eventually became X20, and that was our claim to fame in the world of broadcast. In 2006, Vertigo X Media was sold, but the founders retained some of the key IP and decided to apply that in the world of digital signage. And we had a lot of success in the world of digital signage, creating dynamic digital signage solutions that, again, use that live data stream to create playlists and play contact dynamically, targeted content towards very specific audiences and specific screens, and we were quite the pioneers when it came to digital signage and using live data and things like business rules associated with that live data to do some interesting things in digital signage. Later on in our evolution, we introduced HTML5 into the X20 platform, which allowed us to create content that could then be distributed to any screen, anywhere. So the same content could be used in place-based screens, could be used on smartphones, on tablets, and on computer desktops. And HTML5 opens up a lot of interesting possibilities for us, which we'll talk about a little bit later. In 2014, we were acquired by Barco, and we're now a happy member of the Barco family. So let's talk a little bit about the digital workplace. This is where X20 focuses a lot of its attention, and there's some really interesting things going on in the digital workplace which you should be aware of. The overarching trend is something called digitalization, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. It's the idea that analog approaches to things are being taken over by digital processes to things, and this is having an incredible impact within the enterprise, within corporate environments, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means to you in a moment. Of course, this impacts things like big data. That's evident of digitalization, business intelligence, using that big data to make better decisions, the idea of social collaboration using digital technology so that employees and stakeholders can collaborate, and of course the Internet of Things. More things that are connected to the internet, the more big data, the more business intelligence we can pull, the more opportunities for social collaboration occur. Talking about work, there's some very dramatic things going on there. 1/3 of employees are now remote employees. They're either on the road, perhaps they're using hot desks, perhaps they're telecommuting. We no longer have everybody in an office working together. Also, 66% of users are using at least 2 devices. It's the BYOD phenomenon, bring your own devices to work, that's going on. And this poses some problems. For example, it's hard to reach people if they're not using the one device that is typically used at work. Also, as I said earlier, a lot of big data going on, and it's growing every day. Something else that's going on which is equally dramatic, perhaps even more, is the changing workforce. Millennials are now surpassing Gen Xers as the largest generation in U.S. labor force. And this is interesting for a couple of key reasons. One is millennials are very technologically savvy, and they're poised to unleash all kinds of innovation in the enterprise. They're very demanding when it comes to technology and technology solutions. They want the same functionality and capabilities that are on their personal devices to be part of their work environment. And secondly, millennials are a largely visual generation. They grew up as gamers. They are very used to visual UIs. They communicate very well when it comes to visual content, and this plays a very important role in some of the things we're going to talk about in a moment. Visual storytelling has always been the key to driving engagement, whether in our personal lives or whether in the enterprise. And this has been since time immemorial, from rock cavings to new technology. The idea of communicating concepts visually has great power, and we think there's all kinds of interesting and exciting ways that we can take advantage of this. Gensler, which is one of the leading architectural firms, in their 2016 workplace design forecast made a very interesting statement when it comes to engagement, and that's that engagement is the new business differentiator. Companies that engage their employees and their stakeholders have an incredible advantage over others, and this is evident by things like the growth of open collaboration spaces, huddle rooms, boardrooms, the use of collaboration technology. As I mentioned earlier, the bring your own device trend, which allows employees and stakeholders to connect to each other. And it also facilitates this idea of breaking down silos so that information is shared, employees are fully engaged and full participants with each other and with their customers and with their markets. So for consultants like you, there's 2 distinctive opportunities that we see. They're distinct, but yet they're related. And again, we'll get into that in a moment. The first one is what we're calling experiential storytelling. And this is the process of using highly visual and graphic screens and content strategically located to communicate complex ideas, often based around real-time data. These can be interactive or passive screens, but the idea is that using real-time content, getting a snapshot of what's going on within the enterprise at this particular moment, you have incredible opportunities to communicate very, very complex stories. And also when it comes to the design side of things, for all you architects and design consultants out there, there's incredible opportunities to build these into environments in a very thoughtful way and a mindful way. The other opportunity is the connected enterprise, the idea that workers and stakeholders are connected by screens and can share the same content, share the same stories, and share the same information in real time on any screen anywhere, whether it's a mobile device or whether it's a place-based screen. There are now incredible opportunities to get everyone on the same page no matter where they are within the organization, either in the office or remotely or frankly anywhere in the world. And the reasons for this are not so complicated, and you might have already been experiencing this yourself. One is email is just not as powerful as it once was, especially when it comes to internal type communications. 50% of employees don't even open emails regarding internal communications. The other thing is that the intranet, which was often seen as the savior of communications within the enterprise, just isn't being used the way people anticipated that it would be used. Only 13% of employees reported using their corporate intranets on a daily basis. 31% said they never do. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which we'll get into, and a lot of things that we can do to address those opportunities. The other thing is the sense of engagement. Is very few workers or employees feel engaged in the workplace. And again, we think that visual communications is the key to resolving this this crisis, which is going through corporate America. So if we are able to communicate to the right employee on the right device at the right time, we have something very, very special in terms of getting our messages through to them. And if we do that visually, it's an incredibly powerful solution. Visual, the retention rate for visual content is much higher than text. So not only can we reach the right employee, but we can have communications which are much more impactful if we take advantage of visuals. So how does X20 accomplish this? Well, this diagram illustrates our ecosystem. And I think you'll find it quite interesting with the value that we bring. On the left-hand side, we have a number of content data type inputs which go into the X20 system. And these can be very, very diverse types of content, from SharePoint data to databases to social media, live video feeds, live data feeds, CRM systems, all go into the X20 platform. And within X20, you're able to create a channel of content. And a channel of content refers to the visual illustration of this data in a highly visualized, highly graphic way that puts a lot of this content into context. Once that channel is built, it can be distributed, scheduled. There's approval systems, management systems. It can be playlisted. There's analytics about the usage of those channels, how they're accessed, and then all that content is outputted to any screen anywhere. So on the right-hand side of this diagram, you can see there's interactive kiosks and traditional signage. There is video walls, mobile devices, and desktops. So we can create all kinds of channels of content, very rich in media, that are then targeted to very specific screens, specific users, anywhere within the enterprise or frankly anywhere in the world, so that they can be completely aligned with what the enterprise is trying to do. Okay. So where does X20 fit within an organization, within a connected enterprise? Well, it fits in many places, from employee and communications and HR messaging, which might be distributed throughout the whole organization globally, to sales KPIs, which might go to a very specific department, or marketing type KPIs, which can be very focused. These channels can also be sent to individuals or to smaller teams as well. The content can also be sent to command and control walls, call centers, manufacturing operations where we can see KPIs as they have to do with the manufacturing process or production lines, that sort of thing. And again, those channels of content, those KPIs can then be redistributed to keep folks within the enterprise so they know exactly what's going on. They can also be customer facing when it comes to a retail type application as well. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about channels and what exactly a channel is. So I tried to describe it earlier, but let me get into it in a bit more detail. Channels are these interactive windows of information that's shown on any type of screen. So imagine the screen is divided into different sections where you might have KPIs coming off of something like Salesforce, with content coming from Excel below it, with a video window playing content, with a PowerPoint demonstration in another section, but all designed and laid out in a very attractive, on-brand way that makes a lot of sense to the audience receiving it. And I'll show you some examples of that coming up in a minute or so. So by using the X20 platform and by using this concept of channels, we have all kinds of interesting things that we can do to improve communication and engagement within the enterprise. The first example is what we're calling the connected desktop, the ability for an employee to view content right on their desktop, which could be company news, it could be specific KPIs, it could be a team channel around a project, it could be HR news, but the point is that it's being delivered directly to the desktop. The employee does not have to go to the intranet to pull that content out. It's delivered, it's pushed to them, so there's a higher chance that that person's going to engage with that content and it's going to be actionable. The second opportunity within the digital workplace is this idea of the connected workspace. Think of a huddle room where people can gather around an interactive touchscreen and participate and collaborate around a project or around a specific task, using things like polling and video chat and IM, for example. It can be incorporated with social media. It can be incorporated with all kinds of different content that gives it all kinds of context and makes a lot of sense for those people participating. The third one is the connected workplace. Large video walls and interactive displays that are strategically located within the organization so that folks get a sense of exactly what's going on. It might be KPIs. It could be used in a very special location for VIPs or special stakeholders so they can understand a process quite thoroughly and dig down deeper into more details as required. The other interesting thing about all these three concepts is the concept of business rules. So the idea that when certain thresholds are met on KPIs, something happens. An alarm goes off, a screen changes color, texts are sent, emails are sent, again, making sure that everyone is aligned. And the sense of alignment is critical when we're talking about a connected workforce. People all over the world that need to be aligned with this information and share this information and be able to act upon it. So the benefits to this process is ultimately people can make faster and better decisions because they are all on the same page and they're sharing real-time information. Costs are cut through efficiencies, increased revenue, better employee engagement, improved internal and external communications. Again, this concept that not only are we reaching people on the right screen at the right time or on the right device, but because we're communicating visually, we're having a more dramatic impact on them. Secondly, improves productivity through better decision making. We can share critical business information just at those key moments when it's needed. Imagine a merger and acquisition period in a company where the rumor mill is going crazy. Here's an opportunity for people to make sure that they're aligned. And also we can reduce time and create efficiencies through new business apps that we can create using the X20 platform as well. So let's talk about some examples of what we've done in the past, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate to some of these. Traditional digital signage is where we started from, but this slide is very interesting because you'll see an evolution of our progress as a company and our capabilities in terms of visual communication. So from digital signage we move on to things like interactive kiosks where using touch or gesture control, RFID, QR codes for example, people can interact with those screens and be able to not only have a more engaging type of experience, but also be able to download content from the screen onto their devices as well and take it with them. The idea of a remote expert using video conferencing built into these solutions so that you can have an expert who's located at a call center and can interact with a customer or with an employee that needs that kind of interaction. Multi-touch video walls where very complex and multi-layered processes can be displayed on video walls and people can see immediately what's going on and be able to touch it and dig down deeper and get more details as they require them. Multi-screen interaction where a tablet or a smartphone can actually control the video wall, and again creating a very novel and interesting way to interact with screens as well. The multi-user collaboration huddle room example that I used earlier for this is a great evolution of visual communications and used in day-to-day business tasks. The connected workplace we spoke about, where content can be shared with an entire group or entire in an entire area of a building, for example. And then finally, of course, all of this works towards connecting that workforce who's very dispersed and needs to share the same information. Using the X20 platform, you can create business intelligence dashboards, and this is a really good opportunity to talk a little bit about each one of these components that you see on these examples. These are built with objects, so these are pre-designed and pre-configured with data, and using the X20 platform, the user can actually lay out a screen quite easily, placing specific data-driven KPIs in specific areas of the screen, not confined to a template, though that can be possible if need be to create a consistent brand. But a user can actually lay out a screen in the best way that they see fit to communicate their ideas. And some of these examples are showing not only data-driven KPIs, but social media, different charts, different news feeds, weather, branding. These are all built very quickly using the X20 platform. And then if you remember that big wheel diagram we talked about earlier, they're able to be distributed to any screen anywhere. The connected desktop, the idea of channels being pinned to the desktop channels, and then target those channels to very specific users. It might be a notification of congratulations on a big sales win, it might be KPIs, it might be company news, but it's delivered right to the desktop in real time. All of the channels that we build can be put on any kind of platform, place-based screens, laptops, smartphones, or tablets. Here's an example of a connected workplace, the idea of sharing information within a group. This is a specific example from a pharmaceutical lab where VIPs and key stakeholders will walk through, and a specific presentation will be loaded onto these screens, allowing that information to be distributed to those key audiences. Brand reinforcement, large video walls that are placed in lobbies or strategic locations throughout an enterprise, again, so that stakeholders know exactly what's going on throughout the organization. And again, you designers and architects out there might appreciate some of the interesting things that can be done here and how nicely these can fit into a workplace environment. And again, we're really taking advantage of visual communications and that new, those transformations going on in the workplace and the new millennial workforce that again responds very highly to visual content. Retail experiences, the ability to pick up, in this case, pick up a smartphone and trigger a video display in front of the customer so they know exactly what's going on and get some details about that product. Smart environments, here's a healthcare example. Again, connected workplace, the idea of big video walls and video screens that are being able to illustrate a very complex process. But also included are things like wayfinding and events going on in the enterprise as well. Again, all being driven by the single X20 platform. Manufacturing operations, big video walls where, in this case, we're looking at a supply chain from the beginning of the manufacturing process right through the delivery process. And people in this command and control room can see that whole process and impacts on that process in real time. So an assembly line goes down in another part of the world or a weather incident or something like that. There's an opportunity here to see all that displayed on a big video wall and to drill down into more detail. And again, using business rules, send out messages and texts and alerts to various people throughout the process. Project we did in the broadcast space where social media and other news content is being gathered by Fox News and being displayed both in the studio and also being sent on air using our software. This is an example from Harvard Business School where using X20 real-time virtual classroom is built where participants from all over the world can interact with the lecturer in real time and take part in a business course being run by Harvard. So these examples are trying to illustrate the breadth and the variety of things that we can do at X20 all around visual communications. So the takeaways, I think, from today, and we're almost out of time, might have time for a couple of questions, but the takeaways from today are pretty straightforward. I think one is that there's dramatic workplace and workforce transformations going on, and that is driving visual communication opportunities. We have demographic changes, and we have structural changes, we have technological changes going on in the workforce, and this is creating incredible opportunities for consultants like yourself. The idea of getting the right content to the right stakeholder at the right time is vital. Taking this critical business information and using it exactly as you need it, when you need it, is really, really critical. The benefits of real-time visual communications is that it engages people and it resonates, especially with a millennial workforce. And lastly, one platform delivers this all, and that's the Barco X20 platform. It delivers it to multiple screens, multiple geographies. It's contextual and reaches out to any screens anywhere. So I'd like to thank you. I know it's only been a half an hour. It flew by, but thank you for joining me today on this webinar. I'd also like to invite you to join us once again at IABC, the International Association of Business Communicators in New Orleans, June 5th to 8th, and also, of course, at InfoComm, June 4th to 10th. Please visit us there. Again, if there's any questions or any demo requests or require more information, please contact me, vernon.friedlander@barco.com, or reach out to Charles Duncan at techsales.consultants@barco.com. We'd be happy to meet with you in person or set up another webinar with a more detailed look at the platform itself and its capabilities. Give you a chance to play with it, and you'll see how easy it is to build very powerful visual communication channels that help resolve business challenges for your clients and also help you benefit as a consultant. So thank you again for joining. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. This is Charles. Looks like there was a raised hand. Griffin, were you still, did you still have a question?
Oops.
Thanks again for everyone. Vern, are you still there?